Welcome back to Literature Guide. Today's video is about Elizabethan Theatres and Playhouses. I have tried my level best to cover all the topics related to the theatres and playhouses in the Elizabethan era. The theatre played significant role in the history of English drama. It took birth in the church and then it came out in the streets of the British Isles. The first theatre was erected by James Burbage in 1576 in Shoreditch. The building was plainly called the theatre. Its roofs were thatched and it is considered as the first public theatre in London. The theatre was situated in Shoreditch. A new theatre called the Curtain was built in the vicinity of the theatre in 1576. Henry Lanman has been considered as the owner of this new theatre. Shakespeare's two famous plays, Romeo and Juliet and Henry IV, had been performed at the Curtain Theatre. Along with these two plays, Ben Jonson's famous play, Every Man in His Humour, was also performed at the Curtain Theatre. Similarly, the Blackfriars Theatre was built in 1576. It was actually an old building of Dominican monastery. Many plays were performed at the Blackfriars Theatre. For example, the first English comedy, Ralph Roister Doister, was performed both at the Royal Court and at the Blackfriars Theatre. In addition to this, Ben Jonson's famous prose comedy, Campaspe, was also performed at the Blackfriars Theatre. The second Blackfriars Theatre was founded in 1596 by James Burbage. It was a different part of the old Priory building. Later on, the ownership of this particular theatre was given to James Burbage's son, Richard Burbage, who was a famous actor of Shakespearean tragedy. Ben Jonson's Cynthia's Revels and Poetester, both these plays were performed at the second Blackfriars Theatre. In the same way, the Rose Theatre and the Swan Theatre, they were also popular during the Elizabethan age. The Fortune Theatre was founded in 1600. It was famous for its melodious music, rich clothing of the actors. The most famous theatre of the Elizabethan age was also the Globe Theatre. The timber of the first public theatre, called the theatre, was used for the construction of the Globe Theatre. It became famous because the great dramatist William Shakespeare was associated to the Globe Theatre. I have tried my level best to provide you useful information through this video. If you like the videos produced by this channel, do like and subscribe Literature Guide. I have already produced many videos on the English drama. All the videos produced by this channel are useful for the students who have been taking competitive exams such as the NET and SET exams conducted by the UGC India. And these videos will also be helpful for the students who have been taking university exams. If you really like the videos produced by this channel, do like and subscribe Literature Guide so that this channel will continue producing useful content for the students of English literature. I don't want to waste your time. Let's dive into the video and enjoy the video.
Elizabethan Theatres and Playhouses. During the Elizabethan era, the Elizabethan commercial theatres were the sites of sheer entertainment. The performances of plays were not a new thing for the people because the English drama had its roots in the religious rituals performed in the church. The plays were performed under the auspices of the church. The English drama had a long tradition and it had its roots in English culture in the form of folk plays and mummings. The mystery and miracle plays were performed by the religious guilds in the medieval age. At that time, the religious guilds of York, Chester, and Coventry obtained great popularity. Similarly, plays and interludes had been presented at royal court and in noblemen's mansions. The players had patrons who would look after them. The player used to perform on the special occasions such as Christmas and Easter. They used to perform from the back of the cart, in inn-yards and on the wooden stages erected in the churchyard or in the market-place. As the people began to take great interest in plays and their performances and due to disappearance of religious rituals, the English drama changed its countenance after the Reformation. The Elizabethan theatres had many powerful patrons at the beginning of the Elizabethan age. It was Robert Dudley, Earl of Leicester, who laid the platform for his company of actors in 1559. He had great interest in plays and players. Following the footsteps of Robert Dudley, many companies of actors were formed under the patronage of the Lord Chamberlain, the Lord Admiral, the Earl of Pembroke and Lord Strange. The patrons supported players of their companies. The actors used to wear badge of their patrons as an identity of their companies. Owing to the patronage, they earned social status as actors. They could also get security and support of their patrons against civil authorities. It is important to note that the performances of the plays were not allowed in time of common prayer and during the outbreak of plague. In addition to this, common actors in interludes and minstrels had to obtain an approval or license of 2 justices of the peace. The actors without the license were considered as rogues and vagabonds according to the Act of Parliament of 1572. The players were subject to the censorship of the Master of the Revels. In the passage of time, companies of actors acquired respect and status and they became more organized. In 1583, with the opening of the Company of the Queen's Men, the companies got social approval. The religious authorities were hostile to the players. The church authorities were of the opinion that the performances of plays had been encouraging the poor to waste their money and spoiling the youth by shameless posturing of the actors. So the Court of Common Council tried to suppress the performances of plays. But the seeds of play-going had already been sown in the soil of the British Isles. In 1574 the Earl of Leicester's men were given the royal patent and allowed to perform comedies, tragedies and interludes in London and any other city, town or borough. But the Common Council was hostile to the performances of plays within the city of jurisdiction. As a result, James Burbage resolved to acquire its own premises for his company where it could give performances without any fear and threat of harassment by the city authorities. It could also enable the company not to share its income with innkeepers. James Burbage obtained the lease of land in Shoreditch on the outskirts of Finsbury Fields. He erected the first public playhouse named plainly as the theatre in 1576. The theatre had no roof and it was open to the sky, whereas the other theatres like the Blackfriars and the Whitefriars had roofs. During the same time, another theatre was seen in the vicinity of the theatre. It was called the Curtain. The Curtain Theatre was built in 1576. It was named after the curtain wall of the enclosure of the Holywell Priory. The Curtain was the second public playhouse owned by Henry Lanman. It was closed down due to the outbreak of bubonic plague between 1592 and 1594. William Shakespeare's famous play Romeo and Juliet and Henry IV were staged at the Curtain Theatre. Ben Jonson's famous comedy Every Man in His Humour was performed in 1598 at the Curtain Theatre. It is said that William Shakespeare played his part in the play. The Curtain Theatre had rectangular shape. Its remains were found in archaeological excavation in 2012. Richard Ferrant was a master of the Children of Windsor Chapel. He obtained a lease of the old priory buildings in Blackfriars from Sir William Moore in 1576. Richard Ferrant transformed them into a theatre called the Blackfriars Theatre. The children of the chapel gave public performances at the Blackfriars Theatre. The Blackfriars Theatre was the old Dominican monastery situated between Ludgate Hill and the river. Thomas Giles took charge of St. Paul's Company of Children after the passing away of Sebastian Westcott. It worked in collaboration with the children of the chapel for performances of plays at the Blackfriars Theatre. The first English comedy Ralph Roistered Oyster by Nicholas Udall was performed both at the Royal Court and at the Blackfriars Theatre. Similarly, John Lilly's play Campaspe, a prose comedy, was performed there. It heralded the golden age of the Elizabethan Theatre. In 1584, Sir William Moore got possession of the Blackfriars site, and the old building could not be used as a theatre. James Burbage purchased a property from Sir William Moore with the aim of providing a home for the Lord Chamberlain's men. James Burbage could not carry out his plan to build a second Blackfriars due to his death in 1597. The second Blackfriars Theatre was owned by James Burbage in 1596. It was the different part of the old priory building. It was handed over to the children of the chapel due to local hostility. Later on, the ownership of the second Blackfriars Theatre was reverted to Richard Burbage, son of James Burbage and a great actor of tragedy, in 1608. The second Blackfriars Theatre was leased by Richard Burbage to Henry Evans for performances by the children of the chapel. Ben Jonson's famous plays Cynthia's Revels and Poetaster were performed at the Blackfriars. In 1587, a new theatre called the Rose was founded by Philip Henslow in Southwark. He was assisted by his son-in-law Edward Allen, who was an actor. The Rose Theatre was renovated in 1592. It was closed down in 1602. William Shakespeare acted at the Rose Theatre. During the excavation, the remnants of the Rose Theatre were discovered in 1989. George Chapman's comedy The Blind Beggar of Alexandria was acted at the Rose by Lord Admiral's men. In 1594, a playhouse called the Swan was founded by Francis Langley. It was temporarily closed down in 1597. Thomas Nash and Ben Jonson's famous play The Isle of Dogs was performed at the Swan Theatre by Lord Pembroke's men. The play The Isle of Dogs was seditious and bitter satire. Owing to its slanderous subject matter, Ben Jonson, with two other actors, was imprisoned in 1597. Similarly, Thomas Middleton's comedy A Chaste Maid in Cheapside was performed at the Swan Theatre in 1613 by the Lady Elizabeth's servants. It is to be noted that a new theatre called the Swan was opened in 1986 by the Royal Shakespeare Company in Stratford. It was at the end of 1598, Cuthbert and Richard Burbage, sons of James Burbage, had a quarrel with their landlord about the renewal of the lease of the first public playhouse, the theatre. When it was demolished, the timber was used for the construction of a new theatre which was known as the Globe Theatre on the Bankside in 1598–99. It was the most famous of all the Elizabethan theatres because of its association with William Shakespeare. The Globe Theatre became the rendezvous of the Lord Chamberlain's men. Later many theatres were modelled on the Globe Theatre. The Globe Theatre had a shape of a globe and it was made of timber and its balconies were thatched. So it was vulnerable to fire. The Globe Theatre caught fire accidentally due to misfiring of cannon during the performance of William Shakespeare's famous historical play Henry VIII. The whole building was damaged and turned into ashes in no time. The Globe Theatre was rebuilt in 1614, which played a major role until 1644. It was demolished in order to make an open space for housing. The Globe Theatre was thatched and its middle part was open to the sky. William Shakespeare was one of the shareholders of the theatre. In 1996, a new Globe Theatre was built in the vicinity of the old Globe Theatre. It has been modelled on the Elizabethan construction technique. It was inaugurated by Queen Elizabeth II in 1997, who was the main force behind the construction of the Shakespeare's new Globe Theatre. The Fortune Theatre was built about 1600 by Edward Allin, an actor and rival artist of Richard Burbage and Philip Henslowe. The Fortune Theatre stood in the parish of St Giles at Cripplegate on the boundary of the City of London. The Fortune Theatre had a square shape and it was described as the fairest playhouse in this town. It was known for its fine building, rich apparel and the enchanting music which fascinated the Londoners and the foreign visitors. The Fortune Theatre was burnt down on the 9th of December 1621. All the rich costumes and the playbooks were lost in the fire. Like the Globe Theatre, the Fortune Theatre was erected again in 1623. But it was closed down due to the outbreak of plague in 1625. It was a great blow for the Palgrave's men. Christopher Marlowe's famous plays Tamburlaine, The Jew of Malta and Dr. Faustus were performed at the Fortune Theatre. Edward Allin performed in all these plays. The Hope Theatre was founded in 1613 on the Bankside, in Southwark. It was under the control of Philip Henslowe. It had the facility of movable stage on which plays could be performed. Ben Jonson's comedy Bartholomew Fair was performed by the Lady Elizabeth's men at the Hope Theatre in 1614 and before the court at Whitehall.
How is the video? I hope you liked the video. I have produced many videos on the English drama, English poetry and English prose. You can watch all these videos by visiting this channel. If you really like the videos produced by this channel, do like and subscribe Literature Guide. Don't hesitate to comment in the comment box below. Your suggestions and your views, they are precious to this channel. I will meet you soon with a new topic on English literature.
Please subscribe Literature Guide.